Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Jazallahu Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. In the last session, again, we're just continuing from where we left off in the last class. We're talking about Mudallas, and we said Mudallas comes from the word Tadlīs. Tadlīs comes from the root letter of dalasa, which means to hide or cover. And in Mudallas, what's happening, there is the narrator who's called a Mudallis because he's covering and hiding something, concealing something. So Mudallis, when he conceals, his concealment will be of two categories. Mudallis will be of two categories. Okay? When you conceal a defect or a flaw in a narration, it will be of two categories. Number one is Tadlīsul isnād. And number two is Tadlīsul shaykh. I think we spoke about this, right, Murad? Tadlīsul isnād is the most severe. It's the type which has a more severe outcome and hukum, status. Why? Because in Tadlīsul isnād you're dropping a narrator completely. So for example, Tadlīsul isnād is when a narrator, he narrates from someone he met, but then he links a hadith which he never narrated from him. Or a narrator, he narrates from someone that was his contemporary, okay, but he never actually met him. So what are you doing here? You are linking a hadith which you never heard from someone. That is the Tadlīsul isnād, you're covering up your samā'. Okay? So now this, according to the scholars, usually when you look at the text of hadith and they say an or anna, these are phrases, expressions used for tadlīs. Okay, and this is just to give an impression that, hey, my chain is intact and this muttasil is intact, connected. Okay? So now this is more severe. Why? Because there's pure inqita'. You never heard from someone, then how are you putting in your link? How are you putting him in your chain? So now it's very similar to inqita', munqati'. But the difference between the two is that munqati', the person that you're linking the hadith towards, is not even living at the same time. It's not living in your time. While in tadlīs, the person, the shaykh that you're narrating from, he's living in your time. That's the only difference between munqati' and muttasil. Okay, then the hukum that mashayikh give about for this type of tadlīs isnād, is a makruh shadīdan and jiddan. Majority of scholars have condemned it. However, the mu'tamad opinion that we discussed was, if a mudallis is narrating using the ambiguous wording like an or anna, that we don't know if it's clear or not, then this is munqati', completely munqati', like it's da'if, it's weak. Okay. However, the scholars have said that if the narrator uses sami'tu, clear statement, sarih, al-fadl, okay? Sighatu jazm, you call it. Like haddathani, he says sami'tu, haddathana, akhbarana. These are clear statements and clear words and phrases. They say that as long as the narrator is reliable and thiqah, we can take this type of tadlīs and this is hujjah. Okay, scholars have said that. Clear. Now, an example of this I didn't give in the last last session. I want to continue from here. Is Anas radiyallahu ta'ala anhu قال البخاري حدثنا مسدد قال حدثنا يحيى قال حدثنا عن شعبة عن قتادة عن أنس. 3 عن here. عن أنس رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وعن. Okay, this is one. Okay. Another example is وعن حسين المعلم قال حدثنا قتادة عن أنس رضي الله عنه النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. So now, in explanation, scholars have mentioned that Qatada was known for tadlīs. عن قتادة عن أنس, Qatada was known for, he's a mudallis, okay? In Bukhari's narration, he did not explicitly state hearing, sami'tu, he didn't say sami'tu, okay? However, Imam Ahmed and Imam Nasa'i, they have explicitly said, سمع قتادة عن أنس رضي الله عنه, or قتادة قال عن قتادة, okay? سمع أنس رضي الله عنه. Now, due to the sama' and clear statement, and he's also reliable, thiqa, because of this, we accept this narration and we say it's hujjah. This is an example for hadith of Tadlīsul isnād. Second type of tadlīs is Tadlīsul shuyūkh, which is not explicit inqita', because you're not dropping anyone. For example, let's say Murad narrated from me and I narrated from a shaykh. Murad, he drops me from the chain and he narrates directly from my shaykh, from his shaykh. An example here. This is an example first. Thank you for correcting me. This is an example of the first one. Okay? It would be an example. Second one is description that isn't known. That's correct. I'm sorry for the mistake. Excuse me for that. So now, second one is when you cover up the shaykh through a unknown description, unknown name, unknown nisbah relation. Instead of calling him, Pakistani, you call him Karatishi. Like, who knows him through Karatishi? Like, they know him from Pakistani. Instead of calling Baghdadi, you call him something like very small village within Baghdad. Like, no one knows him through that. Instead of calling him Imam Bukhari, you call him something else like Muhammad bin Ismail, for example, an example. Or for example, instead of calling Imam Shafi'i, you call him Muhammad bin Idris. Let's say there are multiple Muhammad bin Idris, right? So you cover up your shaykh through something, a description, or something that shaykh is not commonly known with. So this covering up, this type of tadlis leads the shaykh towards being majhul. He's majhul now, no one knows him. Okay? So an example of this is قول أبي بكر بن مجاهد المقرئ حدثنا عبد الله بن أبي عبد الله. Abu Bakr bin Mujahid, he said حدثنا عبد الله بن أبي عبد الله. That Abdullah bin Abi Abdullah narrated to me. Do you know who Abdullah bin Abi Abdullah is? No. But Abu Abdullah bin Abi Abdullah, his actual name is Abdullah bin Abi Dawood. As-Sijistani, Sahib Sunan, Sunan Abi Dawood. You know him? Sahib Sunan. So this is son of Abu Dawood. Abu Dawood as-Sijistani, the author of Sunan Abi Dawood that we read from Sahih Sitta. Like, you covered up the name of the person completely. We don't even know him, even though he's a popular sheikh, but with another name, which is Abu Dawood as-Sijistani, and he never mentioned Abu Dawood. He mentioned Abu Abdullah.
What is the reasoning for people to narrate from?
That's where it's coming here. I'm going to mention that right now. Let's write the hukum and then we'll write down the intention of the people. Okay, hukum of tadlis al-shuyukh. According to scholars, they say that it is makruh. The first one is makruh jiddan, because again you're putting in a chain someone you never heard from him, a hadith from him. Okay, clearly inqita' right there. But number two, you actually have ittisal, but you don't know him. It's jahal, majhul, right? So they say it's makruh. This makruh, not jiddan, makruh. The reason for that is, number one, first reason is because you are leading by using an unknown name or identity for the shaykh. You are leading him to be majhul, no one knows him. Number two, because you're neglecting the narrations here. It leads towards the narration being lost because we don't know him. And number three is because it causes confusion for the later scholars. Clear? Now, the severity of this type, the shuyukh, depends on what your intention is. What's your intention when you omit the shaykh? When you omit, let's say for example, you omit me in my chain and you directly narrate from my shaykh. Now, there's a worst case and there's a lighter case. Worst case and lighter case. There can be worst niyyah, bad niyyah, haram, which is haram. Worst case is haram. And then lighter reason of omitting, it's still disliked, but it's makruh. Okay? Now, the first case, worst case. If the reason for tadlis al-shuyukh is to hide a da'if narrator, da'if shaykh, the shaykh is very da'if, his memory is really bad, you omit him. For example, like Muhammad bin As-Sa'ib al-Kalbi, he was a narrator, he was a shaykh, but he was da'if. Now if you omit him, some narrators, what they would do is, it's not omit, but they would call him Hamad. When you call him Hamad, who knows Hamad is Muhammad bin As-Sa'ib al-Kalbi? No one knew him through Hamad, right? So this is called, the intention was because he was da'if and they deleted him, or they obscured his name and identity. This is haram, according to scholars. Worst case, bad intention, because you're deleting for a reason. Second, why is this haram? It's because you did, number one, ghish, deception, clear deception, and you're cheating. And then number three is because hurma is there. Now, what's the latter reason? Okay, latter reason is still disliked. It is other reasons why a student would delete his shaykh, or not delete his shaykh, he would cover up his shaykh with an unknown identity. Okay, number one, the shaykh is younger. Number two, the shaykh is older, too old. Okay, shaykh is younger, shaykh is older. Now, when you're, what's the reason? What's wrong with being too old? Nothing wrong. But when you're really old, there are multiple reasons why someone can do tadlis. Number one, because when you're at an old age, you will start forgetting things. Number two, if you live, let's say, for 100 years, and I narrated from my shaykh who lived for 100 years, I narrated from him when he was 30 years old. That means he lived for 70 more years. Within the span of 70 years, how many students came? A person who met him when he was 100 years old, he shares the same chain as me? It doesn't make sense. So now I want to hide my chain to act like I'm a senior scholar. And I don't want to share the same chain as a person who came 70 years after me. Make sense? That's the second reason. Third reason is because the Shaykh lived very long. Same thing, same cause. Shaykh lived very long because many people benefited after, and I don't want them to be similar in chain as me. I want my isnad to be Ali. Remember we discussed isnad Ali already? And the fourth thing is you desire to appear, you desire to want to have many. You want to showcase people, I have many teachers. The more teachers you have, the more credibility you have. So you are naming, you're calling your teacher Abu Muhammad. Let's say my son's name is Abu Muhammad. You call me Abu Muhammad, but no one knows me as Abu Muhammad, they know me as Ghufran. Okay? Now, you're doing it for the reason with the intention that, hey, I want to have more teachers, because if I have more teachers, that means I have more credibility, and so forth. These are the latter reasons. It's still makruh, but it's not as severe as the other ones above. Okay? This is, alhamdulillah, we have covered Mudallas in detail, and these are two categories of Tadlīs. Let's read it one more time, inshallah. I'll translate it word for word so we understand what we're saying, inshallah ta'ala, and then we move on, inshallah, to the next session. Jazakumullah. Let's go.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قال الناظم رحمه الله تعالى: والمعضل الساقط منه اثنان وما أتى مدلسا نوعان. الأول الإسقاط للشيخ وأن ينقل عمن فوقه بعن وأن، والثاني لا يسقطه لكن يصف أوصافه بما به لا ينعرف.
طيب أحسنت. Okay, again we're just repeating here. وما أتى مدلسا, whatever comes as mudallas, yani it's something concealed, meaning a report that comes as mudallas, نوعاني, is of two categories. الأول, the first category of mudallas, الإسقاط للشيخ, where you drop the shaykh. Okay, dropping the teacher. When you drop the teacher and you relate from above him, you delete to me, and you narrate from a shaykh immediately from a shaykh. Or number two, based on the commentary that we did, was you link a hadith to someone that you never heard from. Okay, because he was your mu'asir, he was your contemporary, even though you heard from him, you never heard the hadith. That could also be the meaning of that. Al-Isqāt al-Shaykh, you drop the shaykh, وَأَنْ يَنْقُلَ عَمَّنْ فَوْقَهُ, and that he narrates from that above him. You narrate from shaykh. How? With what phrases? Bi'an wa an. Excellent. An and an. Now whenever you see an and an, it's a potential Tadlīs. So you have to do research, you have to find out, hey, was this narrator known as Mudallas? Did he actually narrate from the person next to him, coming after him? So whenever you find an, it can possibly be, except in Sahih Sitta, because again, Imam Bukhari has strict conditions. But in other kutubs, if you see an and anna, and it can potentially be a Tadlīs if the narrator is known to be Mudallas. Okay?
This is like in the situations where in a hadith, like a longer version of the sanad is like shown. A lot of the books of hadith, they only limit to like the first, to the companion, or to someone that heard it straight from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Yes.
Or it's reporting from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
No, it's from above, from the narrators. Yes.
So that's only when you can actually like analyze and see like
yes, exactly.
Like, timings match up, things like that.
Yes, that's how it is. Alhamdulillah. So, and then second type, with ثاني لا يسقطه. ثاني is that you don't drop the shaykh. However, يصف, he describes أوصافه with descriptions بما به لا ينعرف, with something بما, with that description, به, with it, لا ينعرف, he's not popularly known with, he's not recognized with. Inshallah ta'ala, we'll conclude with this. وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلق محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.